The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone!
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me. Do you think that you could repeat the question and I listen more attentively? There must have been something in all of that nothing that wasn't quite so easy to see.
We're trying really hard to get him on the Melvin Taylor at the Bash this year. He's only missed one Bash in 16 years. That's the gentleman who sings the song at the open of my show. We love Melvin Taylor. He's from Lowell. Of course, Melvin Taylor's not really his real name. Hi, how you guys doing? Tom Duggan here at the Paying Attention Podcast. Hi, atop Two Guys Smoke Shop here at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. And as we have promised you, we have our Methuen Mayor Report at the beginning, the first Tuesday of every month. And we got some, you're not going to believe this, Ed. We've got sponsors for the show.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, no, I'm not making that up even a little bit. We have sponsors. We have I'm trying to find them. That's what I'm trying to kill time on. While I find the sponsors.
Great sponsors like Century 21, McLennan and Company.
McLennan and Company. We've got AFC Urgent Care. We love Lisa Williams. Lisa and her husband do a lot of great things in the community. And the funny thing is, she'll call me and say, can you do a story on these kids? They really need help. And so I'll call whatever the organization is to write the story. And the first thing they'll say is, yeah, what she didn't tell you is she gave us $2,000. Huh. So she's always calling me and asking me to promote other things and never telling me what she's doing in the community. So they're always doing great things at AFC Urgent Care. And I got to tell you, I've been to AFC Urgent Care in North Andover twice. I've been to the one in Methuen 3 times. I'm in and out in 10 minutes. Nice. I'm in with a doctor within 10 minutes, and then 10 more minutes later, I'm out the door. I'm on my way. So it's way better than waiting 4 hours at the hospital at the Holy Family. And so we love Lisa and her husband over at AFC Urgent Care. McLennan, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that again. McLennan Real Estate, Century 21. They're big fans of Neil Perry. So once Neil Perry won, Janet called me and said, "How do I sponsor this Methuen
She's the best,
thing
Janet.
that
She's
you're
the
doing?"
best.
And then we got Jason Maku from Maku Towing. Jason has actually showed up at our TMF family dinner for the homeless and donated 2 weeks in a row, donated hot chocolate. And last week, he was actually with you, Mayor.
He was.
Standing there passing out food to the homeless. And I was standing there watching this going, we've got DJ Beauregard, newly elected city councilor. We've got Neil Perry, newly elected mayor. We had Mike Samad, newly elected city councilor. We had another city councilor there, too. I can't remember.
Ron Marsan,
former city councilor. And I looked around and I said, it's really interesting. Not one flipping Lawrence city councilor has ever once come here to serve food to the homeless in Lawrence. And yet you've got a third of the incoming city council and the mayor of Methuen coming into Lawrence to feed homeless people in Lawrence. Isn't that amazing? I think it says a lot more about the people in Methuen than it says about the people in Lawrence. But it does say something about the people in Lawrence, that you have 9 members of your city council, and in over a year, not one of them has ever showed up to serve food.
No, I'm not going to cast any aspersions on any of my friends in Lawrence because I've got some very good friends over there.
You do?
I do.
Like who?
Brian DePena.
Brian's a good guy. Love Brian. He's going to be the next mayor.
You think so?
Yeah, he's going to be. No one's going to beat Brian. Brian's one of those guys that he's built up favors for the last 30 years and has never asked anybody for anything in return. So when he runs, everyone's just automatically going to vote for him because everybody owes him something.
Yeah, really good guy.
And you know who's a really good guy on the Lawrence City Council, too, is Mark LaPlante and Dave Abdul, both great guys.
Yep.
They both voted against TMF, by the way, so I'm really unhappy about their decision. Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Isn't Mark LaPlante the guy who did the
veterans thing?
Yeah. Oh, my God. Those are terrific.
Fantastic.
I was trying to get on one. I wanted to narrate one because he did a fantastic. I'm a big fan of history. You may not know this.
Yep.
Right? But
that's because you lived through most of it. Right? Am I wrong about that?
Are you complimenting my age?
Yes, I am. Yes.
But he did a great job. He personalized to me the experience of Lawrence natives in World War I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It got all kinds of awards and well-deserved.
We actually gave Mark our honorary veteran award last year. Every year at our annual bash, we give an award for police officer, hero firefighter, hero veterans. And we always
any hero politicians that will I be eligible?
No. But do something.
Oxymoron.
But there is a way that a politician can win an award at the bash. We have a First Amendment award. So if you do something like Jana DiNatale won it one year because she outed the school committee when they had that fake executive session where they said they were going into executive session to talk about some kind of litigation, and they all went in the back and they yelled and screamed at her for an hour over her Survey Monkey about the Lawrence residents coming to Methuen. And she went right to the press now, and everybody else would have said, no, it's executive session. I can't say anything. No, she blew the lid right off that thing, and, she cares about transparency, so she ended up winning it that year. So you can do something that
First Amendment, freedom of speech,
right?
Yeah,
freedom of speech or freedom of religion. Maybe you do something good for, maybe you can save PMA and we'll give you that freedom of religion award.
Well, I pray for you every Sunday when I'm at Mass.
No, that's not going to help. You should save that for somebody that can use it. And also, by the way, sponsoring today's show is the Methuen Police Superior Officers Union. After they sponsored the show, I kind of thought about it. I'm like, I'm not too sure how well that's going to go over, given everything that's going on. But listen, they're sponsoring the show. You're not making any money off doing this. No. They're sponsoring the show because they believe, and I spoke with Greg Gallant, and hopefully he doesn't get mad at me for saying this, but they believe that having a new mayor come in and a new council comes in is going to be much easier for them to come to the middle and negotiate with the city to get this whole situation
let's hope so.
taken care of.
Right?
So before we start, one of the things I asked Greg Gallant last night was, have you sat down with the new mayor yet? If I was elected mayor, the next day, that would be my first phone call. And he said no. So I was just wondering if you could explain that.
Yeah, so I can. So life has been pretty hectic. It's 30 days for everybody, but so I want to confess I'm still working at Raytheon through December 19th. So I'm taking time off. We're doing transition events with the city. There's a million things to. So next Friday, I have a scheduled sit down with the city to get
the whole city, like everybody's coming.
Well, the city's lawyers to talk about all of the superior officers' contracts issues, because we only know, Tom, what we've seen in the press.
Right? You can't rely on them.
You can't because we don't know the full details.
Right.
And I'm sitting down with some of the current counselors as well to kind of ascertain everything that's really happened. And, I want all of that before I sit down and talk to the superior officers, and I want to do what's right for the city, right? I said this when I was on the campaign. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm not going to make the police bad guys here. This is not about good guys, bad guys.
Good for you, because they're good guys.
It is. They are. And we have a bad contract, and we're going to fix that situation. And I'm committed to doing that, and I think they are too. And so let's see how it works out. Right. So we're going to give us a little time. So the answer is, right after December 13th, we'll be sitting down with Greg and his team and kind of starting to talk, because I don't have any legal standing yet. I'm still absorbing. So, most of what we're going to talk about today is what we've done transition-wise. There's a lot.
Good.
There's a lot.
Good, because I have no questions since the last show. No, not really.
I guess the show's over.
The only question that I have is when you won't answer, who's going to be your chief of staff. But since nobody's going to answer that question.
It's not that I won't answer it. I'm not ready to. So you'll be proud that I'm doing all the right background information and making sure I'm checking all of the things that I should check, right? So I'm doing all the right things, and I'm doing all the things because in my mind, I'm going to say this to you. It's a 2-year term, which is not very long. I've got to show progress in the first year.
Right.
And I've got to make sure that I've got people aligned to the vision that I see and what we're going to do. It doesn't mean they're yes men or yes women. I need people around me who complement the skill sets that I have, who are different than I am. And I'm confident we're going to do that. We're on the brink of finishing that up. We will announce before Christmas, I tell you that. And the Eagle Tribune reached out to me.
You don't have to talk to them.
Two days ago. Yeah. And then Methuen Life reached out to me last week. And I told them, I will tell you guys all at the same time, right? And it will be before Christmas. I won't extend past
I'm not sure I like that answer. I think I want the
you
story
want it here live.
first.
You want it live here, right?
Well, actually, that would be great because you do it live, and then I can write a story after the show and everybody gets it at the same time technically, but I still have the.
Maybe we do it live from TMF.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah,
we
could do like a special interview live from TMF.
I like that.
I like that too.
Idea.
I'd like to actually get some of those guys on with you and talk. Maybe have like a little summit after the first of the year about what Methuen as a city can do to help the homeless in Methuen.
I love that idea.
Yeah,
I love that idea, and I'm committed to it. I was pretty insulted when you sent out all those thank yous on Facebook. For hot chocolate and things like that. I brought 100 cans of Sterno. I got no thank you. I got no shout out on Facebook. I mean,
that's not
the
right.
love is gone already.
It's coming. It's a notebook item in the print edition. That's why. I didn't want to shoot my load all at once with everybody. You know what I'm saying? So here's my spirit animal has arrived.
There you go.
Hi, sweetheart.
All right, that was the host saying that, not the mayor.
Yeah, that wasn't the mayor saying that. So you're talking about all this transition stuff, and I asked the chief. I said, "Have you sat down with the?" Because I'm asking everybody, right? Yeah. Have you sat down with the new mayor yet? And he's like, "No, he hasn't called me to sit down yet." Yeah. So I'm like, "Okay, so who is he sitting down with? So who are you sitting down with?"
So let me explain the process first, and then you can understand. So there's really two tracks that we've got running, and I wanted to do it this way. So we sent out, and I brought, these are actually with answers on them. I wanted to give you a blank one. These are actual, every department head. So the chief of police, the chief of the fire department, the head of the DPW, the city clerk, all got transition questionnaires. And I'm showing it to you so you can tell the studio audience this is actually an answered one. So this morning we sat with the city clerk.
Is that Frank McCann's?
No. This is
just checking.
Let's
open as many cans of worms as we can.
Please no. We sat with the city clerk and we sat with the recreation department and went through. So we sent these to all the department heads and they've all responded. They had until December 3rd to do so. And we've got them back. And now we're scheduling the sit-downs. And the sit-downs are intended to be kind of information exchanges, questions. So we've asked them about challenges, issues, budgetary issues. We also use, I've got it here as a prop, what the mayor provided to us, which was the FY 2020 budget. So as an example, when we sat down with Jack Wilson, the city clerk this morning.
Good guy, by the way.
Good guy. We can go through his section in here. It's on 35 and 36 if I can ever get there. There it is. And, I can look and see what were his accomplishments in FY 2019, what are his goals for 2020, what's the org structure, which is not quite to the level of detail that we're looking for. So I've asked him for something that we do at Raytheon, something that I'm familiar with, which is an org chart that's a functional org chart, meaning a picture of the person and what their job responsibilities entail. And
then who they answer to.
Yeah. So you understand, you have the city clerk, which is Jack, but underneath you've got these other blocks. Well, who are those people and what do they do? And he's got more principal clerks than one. So how do you do the assignments, is what we talked about, and how does the work flow?
Yeah, summaries don't help anybody.
No. And so he did a really good job. He's an example. He was the first one we did. And it's a learning process, so I'm sure I'm going to get feedback on the questions I asked. We look at the budget. We ask questions about the budget, clearly, but we also ask headcount questions. I asked him, are there any single points of failure, any risk areas? How do we promote customer service? He walked me through some really good stuff, including the renovation of the customer service center in Searles. So it's being set up so that it's much more customer friendly. And we walked down and we looked at it actually happening while we were in the building this morning, and I give it an A, right? Well, maybe an A minus, right? Because I got to see people in it. They were still working on it, and it'll make it much easier for the citizens to get in there and do business in the city clerk's office, for example. We're also taking a look at the building itself. So the building itself is a historical monument. It's unbelievable.
It's beautiful.
But we're looking at how we're utilizing the building and what does it need.
Right.
And we're looking at that from a perspective, Tom, of not department to department. How do you step back and take an overall look at the building and maximize the use of it? Because, one of the things people could say is it is a historic building, but probably not designed the way you would design a building today for city government. And so you've got a lot of small rooms, et cetera. At one time it was a high school. Searles High School, and my mother, in fact, graduated from that building. So we're taking a look at the overall structure and infrastructure of the building and talking about what we can do to maximize not spending, but the experience for the shareholder, the customer in the community, right? Well, how do we make their experience more meaningful? And I think you're going to see a definite focus on that.
Can you, if I'm sitting in my office, and I'm the laziest SOB you're ever going to meet in your life. If I'm sitting in my office, I don't even want to talk to people on the phone when I'm ordering a pizza. I would rather go to Giovanni's online and order online so I don't have to talk to anybody, right?
Yeah.
Does the city allow people to pay their parking tickets, their excise taxes, their city taxes
Great question.
online with a credit card? It's something that I tried to push Lawrence to do for a long time, and they didn't want to do it.
So this, excellent timing. The city clerk has started that process.
Oh, good.
So you can pay a lot of these things online.
Good.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and say you can pay 100% of them because right now I've only sat with the city clerk and the recreation director.
Right.
I know you can pay your taxes online, and you've been able to do that. And Sharon Pollard actually set that up when she was mayor. So I go pay my water bill online. I pay I can pay my real estate taxes. I can pay my excise taxes for my vehicle, all online.
Great.
That's done through the city. And there's an extra 50-cent fee when you do that. And that pays for because it's not unique to Methuen. It's all, it's multiple communities across Massachusetts. So it's a pretty cool feature. And you might say, well, 50 cents, well, a stamp is what, 46, 47, whatever it is?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's negligible. And for me, I get the bill. If I don't pay it right away, I'm going to forget it.
Right.
So I get it. I go to the computer. I pay it, and I'm done. Right. And by the way, I'm a big fan of economies of scale too. I won't say laziness, Tom. So the website will allow me to be remembered. So that when I go back in, it prompts me. It knows my account number. It knows my name, so I don't have to type that stuff back in. So, yeah, they do that, and that's a good thing. And we're definitely looking at that. So, excuse me. One of the biggest emphases we have when we're meeting with these department heads is process, right? Because a lot of times, one of the criticisms is he's never worked in city government before. And that's a fair criticism. So what I'm trying to do... I think
that's a good thing, though.
Well, in many ways it is. So what we're doing is we're going with eyes wide open. And I'm asking a lot of questions. I'm sure if Jack was here. And it's my intent to start bringing, in January, some of the people that work for the city, right? So I hope to convince, like Maggie Dupre, who's the CAFO. I'm very impressed with her. Very intelligent young lady. And she's at the heart of what we're trying to do. So I hope she will be willing to be a guest at one of these podcasts.
That'd be great. Right? We'd love to have someone like that on.
If that works out well and we do questions from other people, that we bring some of the other department heads.
Sure.
And we talk about some of the other important topics, month to month, because I'm learning a lot. So I would say right now it's like drinking through a fire hose. I've got, meetings almost back to back. We almost, were way late for this because we're at City Hall. We were talking. We did a couple of sessions, and then we got into a prolonged discussion about some things with the CAFO. And time management is probably the greatest challenge right now because there's so many things I want to do.
Right.
And assimilating all the information is really important. So let me step back for a second before I keep going on this. So that's one vein is these transition questionnaires have been sent out to every department head. And they've answered them. So we sent them out probably about 2 weeks ago. And we gave them, because of the Thanksgiving holiday, till about December 3rd in some cases, and they've all responded. And now we've scheduled, we had some today. We've got some more coming. We're doing a tour in the building tomorrow. And then I'm going to a mayor's workshop from Mass Municipal on Monday.
Be careful of those guys.
Yeah.
Be careful of those guys.
Careful of them? They're going to want money?
Well, they're not on the up and up. Well, we'll have a whole show on that. But
all right.
When I submitted my public records bill, they were the primary opponents of stopping my public records bill. And they actually, Mass Municipal actually has, at least once a year, they have these, what do you call them when you get, a bunch of people get
workshop,
together?
conference.
Like these conferences for city attorneys and city clerks to teach them how to obfuscate the public records law, to teach them how to get around it. And I only know because my attorney, Peter Caruso, was at one of them. And they recognized him as being a First Amendment lawyer and pointed him out. And then all of a sudden, nobody had anything to say.
All right, let me say two things about that.
Sure.
One is I give you an A for using the word obfuscate.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Very educated. I appreciate that. And secondly, Peter Caruso, great guy.
He's a phenomenal guy.
He's a fellow parishioner.
I've been sued like 1.5 million times. He's represented me in every single lawsuit. I've never once lost. And you know, I still got one more from the current mayor who's on his way out. And I knew the minute Peter took the case, I said, you know what, I can sleep now. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I know he's going to take care of it.
Great guy. And so, you know, what I started to say is, so there's two paths that we're doing, and I'm really excited about this. One is we're doing these informational interviews, if you will, off of the transition questionnaires with the department heads. And that's because it's not possible to glean from the written word everything that they want to tell you.
Sure.
So, as an example, sitting with Jack this morning was a really informative discussion, and we talked to him about things he wants to do in future elections, and that's a great helper to me, right? How he's structured, who's doing what job, and then getting deeper into the process of how the city clerk's office works.
Right.
So that's part A. Part B that I'm also excited about is we have 4 transition committees. Now, this is not bureaucracy. This is to give us...
Sounds like bureaucracy.
No,
You
no,
get
no.
4 transition committees.
Well, let me tell you what their focus is.
please do.
So, great question. So we've got one on general government, one on parks, recreation, and green space, one on community, culture, and neighborhoods, and one on business and economic
What was the first one?
General government, overall government. And we have taken probably around, I'm looking at the number, and you can see the sheet with all the crossouts from the people I've called. This is my actual working sheet.
You notice I didn't get a phone call on any of those transition teams.
No,
that's okay.
No, these are primarily Methuen residents.
Okay, fair enough.
I could get you to move to Methuen. That would be great.
Yeah, I love North Andover. But you know what? You do a good job in your first year. I'll give it some thought.
Okay, well, that's what it's all. So we've got about, in the 4 committees, we've probably got about 45 people assigned. And by the way, I'm going to step back and say they're not all Neil Perry, Yahoo. He's the best, right? We've been careful to select people who supported my opponent on some of these committees, because what we're looking to do is take some of the visions that we put together that were part of the campaign platform, get these groups from across Methuen to sit in a room. So we had a session scheduled for Monday night, snowed out.
Right.
In New England, we don't like the snow, I guess. I did my driveway with my little ATV. I was ready to go.
It's usually the first snowstorm. New Englanders forget how to drive in the snow, and suddenly everything's closed. Like, it's New England. This happens every year.
It does. It does. But that and the bread and milk phenomenon.
Right, yeah.
So every market basket is devoid of bread and milk.
That goes back to the Depression.
Yeah, to the Depression.
Well, no, it does, because my grandparents used to do that, because my grandparents lived through the Depression.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, as soon as they knew that it was going to snow, they would run out and get 5 loaves of bread and 3 gallons of milk, because you didn't know if the stores were going to be open for a week.
Because that's all you
need
to make
even though
French
now
toast.
that doesn't happen anymore. Like, the store's always going to be open the next day or at least 2 days later. For some reason, it's ingrained in our culture to just go out and do that.
See, I was going to say it's Blizzard of 78.
Okay.
People started running out of food and they started freaking out.
Yeah.
Right? So I
started eating each other.
Yeah. Cannibalism.
Donner party for one.
Right. It wasn't just the food, Neil. The liquor stores started running out of beer.
That's when the problem started.
Nothing was getting delivered anywhere.
Yeah. So anyways, there's the 4 teams. I'm going to repeat them again. General government, parks, recreation, and green space, community, culture, and neighborhoods, and business and economic development. Now, what we've set up is 3 to 4 meetings for each of these teams. We're restricting them to 90 minutes in respect for the people's time. Mm-hmm. And what we're really doing is starting with some of the visions we put together, giving them those to read as homework, and they've already been sent out. And so, for example, the community, culture, and neighborhood team will meet tonight at 6 o'clock at Searles.
Okay.
And if you aren't on it and you're somebody who, you're passionate about participating in that, you should reach out to me and let me know. But we've got about 8 people from all across Methuen. And once again, these aren't all Neil Perry supporters. We were very careful. One of the things I said in the last time I was here, or I should say on the Halloween webcast when we did that effective after the election, there would be no more Team Perry and Team Canaan. There would be Team Methuen. Mm-hmm. And we're paying very close attention to that. We're making sure that any groups that we're looking at, we're trying to include people who did not support me.
Right.
And
that's smart, but politically that's smart.
What we're trying to show is that it really is all about the city. Every decision we make is going to be made with the best interest of the city at heart. And so we're focused on that. And so tonight, Community Culture and Neighborhoods will meet at 6 o'clock, and we'll go for 90 minutes. And then the Business and Economic Development team will meet for 90 minutes at 7:30. And what we've tasked them to do is a little brainstorming activity on the things that are working well and the things that aren't working well. And I won't put you through the whole experience, but what we're going to do eventually after about a couple meetings is prioritize the things that come up, the things that aren't working well. How do we translate those into goals for the city? What are the things that we need to do in the first 120 days? What are the things that we need to do by the middle of the year? What are the things that are longer term to be done towards the end of the year? Mm-hmm. And, my intention is to be as transparent as possible with those. So the next time I come in the show, that would be an artifact that I'd want to give you guys as a slide and kind of show it and say, okay, here's what the folks in the Community, Culture, and Neighborhoods team are saying. So you look at, how do we reestablish a sense of community in Methuen? And this team is going to give us a lot of ideas on how we could focus that near term, interim, and then longer term. And those will translate into goals. And then the intention is we come back to people like you and they become a scorecard, a report card for how well we're performing as a city, how well my city government is performing. Are we doing the things we say we're doing? Mm-hmm. And I embrace that. I want to sit with the city council and talk about these are the things we want to get done. I want to have their input. So once these teams finish and once we finish these questionnaires, we're going to develop a list of priorities that become the goals for the city and then go to the city council and get their input on it because we'll have 9 new sitting city council members, and then take that accumulation and then regularly report out, okay, in the area of reestablishing community, here's the 5 things we said we were going to do by mid-year. We've done this, we've done this, we've done this. Oh, this one we didn't do, and here's why, here's when it's going to be done. And in that sense, we want to report to the citizens so that they understand what progress is being made in this city.
So you're setting goals,
yep,
setting timelines for those goals, and then at the end of that timeline, what's not done, then you sit down and you work with people to figure out, why it wasn't done, and then how do you get it done?
And I go back and I say, I'm new to politics, but I'm not new to being a leader. Mm-hmm. And so I recognize that this first year is critical for me and for the people that are working with me in the city government, that we need to show the citizens of Methuen a different side. And we need to show them all the things that we talked about in the campaign weren't just campaign plugs. Transparency and accountability, those are words that mean something.
Yeah, people aren't used to that.
Yeah.
People are used to someone campaigning, saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to build a youth center. I'm going to plant trees. I'm going to do this and that. And then they get in and they do none of those things. And then when they run for re-election, they make the same promises. And people are like, wait a minute, what you hit 2 years ago?
Yeah, plant trees. So I met with Mayor Fiorentini in Haverhill on Monday.
Okay.
So despite the snow.
Insert joke here.
Yeah. Despite the massive snowstorm, I got into my vehicle and I drove to Haverhill City Hall Monday morning. And I met with Mayor Fiorentini. He invited me down for a meet and greet, and that was really good. And he talked about his tree planting program. And I know there's people that love it and people that don't love it, but I do love it.
I love it too.
Right? Because every tree you plant puts more oxygen back into the air, right? And so with all that's going on, we need to kind of focus on that. And all the developments that we have, we've got to have a little bit more. And so that's something, I don't want to cheat and put any emphasis, because Mike Solomon and Ryan Hamilton are my co-chairs for the Parks, Recreation, and Green Space team.
Okay.
But I would hope that they come out. We've talked about reinvigorating the Clean Up Methuen campaign and talking about planting trees. I would hope those are some of the goals that come out of that team. But again, we picked citizens all across Methuen because it isn't just what Neil Perry wants to do. It's how do we as a community of citizens of Methuen? How do we identify the things that we need to do?
And the planting of trees is important because
it is.
While people run around pretending they're environmentalists because they hold a sign against global warming, they're not actually doing anything for the environment. And planting trees actually does do something for the environment.
It absolutely does.
And if every community did something like that, I give my communist friend Tennis Lilly, who is, I mean, he's so communist, it's unbelievable. But one of the things he's done in Lawrence through a nonprofit is he's in charge of planting X number of trees. I think it's like 100 trees a year.
Yeah.
And they go out, and I see them in the summertime. I'm driving on chasing police cars, and I see like this tree group, and they're planting trees everywhere.
Sure.
And those are the things that it sounds small and it sounds insignificant, has a tremendous impact on the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to go back. I want to say the 4 teams again, if I could, Tom.
Sure.
Because if there's citizens in Methuen, I apologize, but we're limiting it to Methuen residents.
That's
because
fine.
They're the people impacted here. We have one working on general government. We have one working on parks and recreation and green space. We have one working on community, culture, and neighborhoods. And we have one on business and economic development. So in general government, for example, driving the accountability and financial management is a key tenet there. And I produced a vision during the campaign on that. And then safe and secure neighborhoods was the second one. And so those are 2 vision plans that this team would look at. But there's so much more there than just those 2 things, right? So if you're sitting in the audience at home and you're watching this podcast or you're listening to the podcast and you say, hey, I'm a resident of Methuen, I would be of great value on that, reach out to me, right? Let me know.
How do they reach out to you?
They can email me at npirish1213@gmail.com. I don't have a city email
You're
yet.
going to have to change that to supermayor at Hotmail or something.
No. So I like it. 12/13 is my birthday. You can wish me happy birthday in advance here.
Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you. npirish1213, in case I start losing my memory, I can remember it all from my email.
Gotcha.
npirish1213@gmail.com. Reach out to me if you're interested in participating on one of these committees. Again, general government, parks, recreation, and green space, community, culture, and neighborhoods, and business and economic development. Now, community, culture, and neighborhoods and business and economic development are meeting tonight. The other 2 would have met Monday, but the massive snowstorm shut us down.
I get nervous when I hear culture.
Yeah.
That's a word that makes me nervous. Okay.
Yeah. So
because in this political business, you hear culture, and you know where that's going to end up.
Yeah. Well, and so it's important that we kind of. So to me, one of the things that we've got to look at in that team is the changing demographics in Methuen. Right. So the city has changed dramatically, and we need to recognize that going forward, and we need to be structured appropriately. So in my early talks with the citizens at City Hall, we have almost no bilingual personnel. Yet, I attended the school committee meeting, I think it was a week and a half ago, and I saw that approximately 30% of our student population is Hispanic.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's high. It's like 29.5%.
Spirit animal, is that true? It's a third, really?
Look at that.
Wow.
You're fact checking them.
I have to. Listen, I have to. It's my job.
So, with statistics like that, we've got to have the capability to provide that customer service to people or understand. And right now we don't have that. So the changing demographics. So we'll focus on things like that. But each of the 4 teams, like I said, we would love to have other people participate. Everybody I reached out to was super responsive, and I appreciate that. Some people were getting cold calls and had never met Neil Perry. Mm-hmm. Some people were getting cold calls and had not supported Neil Perry, and that's okay, right? Because it's not about...
But how were you received? Like, you pick up the phone, you call someone that campaigned against you, and you say, hey, this is Neil Perry. They say, there's a long pause.
Yeah, really? But I would say, the feedback has been good. And I use that as an example, and I'm going to keep saying this, that I'm going to keep to my word, right? I said that Team Methuen thing before. To me, it's all about the city now, right? And if you supported Jennifer in the campaign, that's fine. The election's over. It's time to move forward as a city and heal the divides. And there's a core group. I'm going to say this will be non-popular. There's a core group in the city that wants to keep promoting that divide. And they're going to have to get used to this because we're going to work to address that because now it's time to move forward.
Are you ready for those people to undermine you come January 1st?
Absolutely.
Because you know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you announce whoever your chief of staff is, no matter who it is, it could be Pontius, it could be Jesus Christ himself. They're going to find an excuse to complain about it and make it a political issue.
Yeah, and so I would tell you is regardless of who I pick, it's, whether you like the person, dislike the person, have a relationship with them, or don't have a relationship with them, you have to judge me based upon the accomplishments that I make while I'm in office. And so I would suggest to you that on January 6th, that's the inauguration date.
Okay, they finally set the date?
I would love to have you there. Yeah, January 6th. It will be at 7 p.m.
Thank you for the invitation. I'll come and we'll live podcast it.
See you, Scotty. So we would love to have you there. We're going to do it in the Timony School auditorium.
Okay.
It's a little more intimate. People say, well, the Methuen High School auditorium is gorgeous. It is. Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful and it's awesome. I'm a big fan of intimacy. And so they've redone the Timony auditorium, and I like the look and the feel of it, right? And that's not a slam on Methuen High School. I'm going to be pro Rangers in everything we do. I'll be showing up at basketball games so people won't be able to say, oh, see, he was just going to football games because he was trying to get elected.
You did that, by the way. I wanted you to come to the TMF family dinner for the homeless during the campaign. You didn't want to do it because you didn't want people to think you were grandstanding to get elected.
Yeah.
And then when you won, this is so rare in this business, when you won, after you won, the next day you were there. You were there serving food so you couldn't get any publicity out of it. You weren't going to get any political benefit out of it. It was the day after you won.
I was moved. I got to be honest with you. So I'll be 62 in less than 2 weeks.
You don't look a day over 61.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. And I say to you, my hat's off to you for how much you contribute to TMF, and my hat's off to Mike Gorman and his team.
That's where the real credit goes.
They do a hell of a job.
That's where the real credit goes.
And I saw his plan for the Christmas events, and I say this quite frankly, I've got to figure out my schedule so that I can get in on some of that.
Yep.
And I say get in, to me, at this stage of life, that means more. Participating in that, it brings the Christmas spirit for me.
Right.
Seeing those people who have so little and seeing what just giving them a little can do.
Yep.
It's completely uplifting.
And see how grateful most of them are, too.
Are.
That's the thing. I mean, there are homeless people out there that are just scummy people that aren't going to be ever grateful for anything. But the majority of the people that are showing up at these TMF dinners, they're extremely grateful.
Well, last Wednesday night, you and I were there, and it was pouring rain.
Yep.
It was the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. Yeah. And, pouring down rain. And here's a young lady in front of me with a trash bag over her clothing, trying to take a takeout bag to one of her friends who wasn't well enough to make it.
Right.
And, I mean, you've got to look at that, especially, I know it may sound sappy to some of the people, this time of year where we do so much. I mean, I think, I've talked to my kids about coming to help me.
That's great.
Because it's just amazing. It's an uplifting experience, and I leave it. And kudos to you. Kudos, like I said, to Mike Gorman and the whole team.
Yeah, Mike and the kids deserve the credit. I mean, I try to promote them as much as I can, but they're doing the work. We're going to be doing Christmas night, I think, at 8:00.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be leaving my family. My sister's going to be the guest speaker.
Yep.
And she was addicted. I think she went through 5 or 6. What do they call that now? 5 or 6 rehabs. And before she finally got clean, and now she's helping other people get clean.
Yep.
And so she's going to be doing that. That's going to be fun, especially on Christmas night. We're going to be with people who have nothing, who appreciate what little you give them, and we're going to be able to spend time with them to maybe help make their Christmas pretty good.
So I even got to sing "Joy to the World," which was really special to me.
Thank God that is not on tape. Because if you could have seen what was going on that night, our friend Joe is homeless. Joe Early, I think is his last name, who's homeless. Quite a few of the volunteers have done a lot to help Joe out. Joe's got some issues, and he likes to play the harmonica. and his favorite song is Joy to the World. And sometimes he shows up and he's a little inebriated, and just in the middle of everything, he just starts shouting Joy to the World, and we'll sing the whole song, which is absolutely hilarious. Like,
it's a great song.
Even Mike Gorman was laughing. It's hard to make that guy smile. And he did a good job. So.
Well, I'm so old, I remember when it was a hit. So, I mean, so I'm going to get back to the transition thing, because, bringing up things like TMF is over and above what I explained, sitting down with the department heads one-on-one, and then the transition committees. There's other things from a vision standpoint, and one of them is community engagement, right? And to me, it's incumbent upon us as representatives of city government to participate. And that doesn't mean just going to a basketball game, even though I will do that and I will cheer for the Rangers. It means actively participating in things that are for the betterment of people in the city, right? And to me, doing the TMF, I think you made painfully clear to me during the debates and stuff, some of the homeless that show up at those Wednesday night dinners are not, Lawrence people, they're Methuen people too.
Right. At least a third of the people that were there last night, I actually started asking people where you're from.
Yeah.
At least a third of them are from Methuen.
Yeah. So I was, secondly, I want to say, we taught DJ Beauregard a lesson about how to dress for the event when it's raining.
Yes.
Because he looked like a drowned seal by the time he was ready.
That was
to
pretty
leave.
funny, actually.
Yeah. There was
he begged me not to take a picture.
Yeah, somewhere between DJ and Ron Marsan. Ron was dressed like the Gorton Fisherman.
Right, yeah.
Right? DJ was just wearing a regular black jacket and looked like a wet seal after
because it wasn't just raining; it was pouring. It was a downpour.
It was.
So
somewhere in the middle.
I have a quick question for you from someone online, Kim Daly, whom we love because, well, first of all, she's hot, but also she's very involved in the community.
I haven't.
She wants to know, where can we find who the members are on each of the committees? I guess is there a website?
Oh, great!
Is like Neil Perry from Mayor being used?
No,
as
great question. So I'll hold this up so you can see. I got to clean that up.
So the answer is everybody's got to go through me. Is that it?
Well, no. I'm just showing it to you so that Kim knows it's real. That's a great suggestion. We'll put it out on the website, and if you're interested in participating, come on. The one thing I would encourage you not to do is. So let's say
who the chairs are, because two of those chairs jumped off the page.
No, if you say Neil Perry's here, right? Oh, I hate that guy. I don't want to see that stuff in the early going. Put aside your personal feelings for each other. If you've got a passion about participating in any of these committees, if Kim wants to participate in one of the committees, come on, get involved, right? Because we've tried to.
I want to be on whatever committee she's on.
Oh, you're welcome to. So a perfect example is on Parks, Recreation, and Green Space. I have Bill Bryant is participating.
Are you serious?
I am 100% serious.
Oh, man, you're a better man than I am.
Hey, this Team Methuen thing applies to all of us.
I know.
Right? So we've got people from all different... Steve Angelo.
You do realize that he's going to do everything he can to sabotage you.
I don't think so. I disagree with you. I disagree.
Okay.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
They always do, but at the end, they always come back and go, I probably should have listened to Tom on that one.
Ed.
Sorry.
Mark this down.
Yeah, mark it down.
This moment,
42-53 in the show.
That's right. Either Tom owns me or I own Tom, right? One of the two.
Whoever wins buys lobster. Whoever loses buys lobster.
Yeah, which reminds me, Dennis Marcello, if you're out there, you owe me a lobster dinner.
I love Dennis Marcello.
Yeah, he owes myself and Mike Solomon lobster dinner.
Really?
Let's go.
I don't know if he can afford that.
He can afford it.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
So I use that, and please, I'm not picking on Bill Bryant, but Bill Bryant, I'm using that name.
It's a good example.
He did not support me, and that's okay.
Didn't.
He exercised his privilege.
Not only did he not support you, he savaged you.
I mean, I'm not.
It's one thing if someone supports the other person.
Yeah.
It's another thing when someone's out there publicly savaging you.
Well, I don't know that he savaged me. I didn't agree with some of the stuff he said, but to me, what I'm trying to do is set a respectful tone for the city. So I don't agree with what he said, but I do admire some of the passion. So you and I talked. I thought he did a very good job on the first debate he did. He did an excellent job.
I agree.
Right?
And he does a lot for the kids.
He does a lot for the kids, right? And so, to me, it's important. Parks, Recreation, and Green Space, who better to turn to? Somebody like that, right? I've got Steve Angelo, who was thrilled to get my call and participate. And I think the world. So you say, why Steve Angelo? Steve does recreation for
that's
the
his
city of
job,
Stoneham, right?
Right. Yeah.
So who better? Why not look at what they're doing in Stoneham and how can we transfer some of that? And by the way, when I look at Parks and Recreation, to me it extends beyond. This isn't all, about plant the tree. Some of the after-school emphasis will be in this group here, right? The thought when we meet with them will be, okay, what more can we do to give our students an upper hand, to help them out, after school? How do we bridge that? When we met with Bill Parry, the recreation director, this morning, some of the questions we probed at were, what are the after-school programs we have? And beyond youth basketball, beyond youth lacrosse, beyond youth hockey, skating, whatever. What about the arts? What about the cultures? What are we doing? So we're trying to take a fresh look at all of this and not, try to solve world hunger the first year, but create a plan that is publishable. I love what Kim asked because we want to give her a plan that says, here's the, 35 things that we're going to get done this first year that will make an impact in the city. And then have Kim Daly hold us accountable. Or not Kim, but all of the Kim Dalys, right?
Just as an example.
Yeah. So I gave you a couple examples there.
I was really worried when he came in. I had no questions, and we're not having any problems at all.
He seems to have a whole book of.
He's way more animated now today than he was in the last one.
Because the last time I was dog tired. You got me at the end of the election.
But you seem excited. Like, not to take you off point. You seem excited that you're getting ready to take over this multi-million-dollar municipality and transform it into something that's much more functional.
Yeah. So I love that you said that. I am excited. And I know I'm going to turn and look at the audience a little bit better. I know that there are going to be people who disagree with some of the things that I want to do in the city, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? It's how we demonstrate that disagreement.
As long as it's a constructive disagreement, because I can tell you my fear is that you're going to have people who are looking to support someone else in 2 years or run themselves in 2 years, and that they're going to be on your so-called team, and that they're going to be sabotaging you behind the scenes in ways that you're not going to figure out until a year from now what they were really up to.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it with Mike Sullivan in Lawrence. I saw it with Willie Lantigua in Lawrence. I saw it with Steve Zani when he came on board. That there were people that they ingratiated themselves with the administration. They kind of snuck their way under a committee somewhere, and then they just did nothing but sabotage.
Yeah. And so the one thing I would say to you is
death penalty for those people.
Don't mistake my I don't know about the death penalty. Don't mistake my political naivete for being leadership naivete. It's not. So probably the most impressive. I'm a big reader, and I read a lot. And most of my reading lately has been about the city of Methuen. And I fully digested Robert's rules so I won't screw up when I go to these meetings.
I've got it committed to memory since I was an elected official in 1996.
I saw your picture. That was amazing. The picture with your dad. That was excellent. Yeah. But I say this to you. I'm a big fan of praise in public and criticize in private. Mm-hmm. And I learned that the hard way at Raytheon. And I would tell you, for the people I'm working with, they could get a tap on the shoulder during the dance and ask to come and pay a visit. Yeah. I'm not hesitant to sit there and say, I know we have different views. I'm not a big fan of people pretending to be aligned and then sabotaging after the fact.
Right.
So whether it's on one of these committees or something in the departments in the city, once we decide as a team, we're all in.
Right.
And that's the only hard rule I'm going to have, right? There will be that's Neil's idea. The ideas we come up with will be our ideas, and we'll adopt them. And I point out that, I started saying, one of the best leadership books I ever read, and the people at Raytheon can tell you this because everybody who's ever worked for me, I had them read it. It's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And it's written by an author called Patrick Lencioni. I'm going to repeat that in case people want to read it. The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And what it specifies, is the root of our problem in Methuen. All issues in relationships stem from lack of trust. And so you need to have trust in order to share the real you. Let me give you an example of how that plays out in real life. You're in a meeting with the mayor or the mayor-elect, and the mayor comes up with something that you think is the most boneheaded idea since I don't know, time. And you sit there and you say, well, that's a great idea. And then, the idea passes and you go out in the hall and you say to your friends, that is the dopiest idea I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
Right? That does nobody any good. Now, I want to give you a little career advice. In the meeting, you don't say to the mayor, that's the dopiest thing I've ever heard uttered in history. But you should be able to say, I'm a little concerned about this, right? And one of the tools I used at Raytheon, and people will hear it in City Hall, is I learned the LCS tool. Because we're all human beings. So if I say something to you and you say, that's stupid, immediately my defenses are up.
Right.
And I'm ready for the fight. So I encourage the people in the city of Methuen to use the LCS tool. Before you can criticize something, say what you like about it. LCS is likes, concerns, suggestions. If you say, I want to make every Tuesday Hot Dog Tuesday, I say, that's a stupid idea. You now are...
Right now,
your hackles are up.
Right.
If I say, well, Tom, I really like that idea because I love hot dogs. I'm a little concerned that people are worried about all the nitrates and sodium that's in hot dogs. And maybe I suggest we do one Tuesday a month. That's a far more beneficial way to get you to potentially
come to the middle. Right, yeah.
Right? But as human beings, we're so ingrained that if somebody comes back with the negative, with the anti right away, we're going to block it, right? And so, you can sit out there and say, I don't want to learn his wacky tools that he used at Raytheon. And you don't have to. I guess all I'm trying to tell you is, it's easier for a human being, any human being, we are all human beings, to understand that there may be a flaw in the theory if you're a little bit complimentary to start.
Right.
If you at least open the door for them versus, smashing it. I posted on Facebook the other day an article that I just loved. It was so moving. And I forget who shared it, but it said, everybody's grieving. The people you're honking your horn at, everybody's got something. People could be going through a divorce, through the loss of a loved one. Everybody has challenges in their life that you can't understand. And the point to the article was kindness matters, right? So, you can say what you want.
Kindness matters.
That would be a good one for you to bear in mind, Tom.
Yeah, yes, Tom.
Never heard that.
Well, I guess all I'm trying to say
that's definitely not from the Tom Duggan School of getting things done.
No, but you say, there's going to be a core group that are going to disagree with everything I do. I know that.
Right.
I know that. And I challenge that group. That group they're still posting after the election.
Oh, yeah. I saw Sid Harris the other day was kicking the crap out of you.
Well,
and I'm sitting there going, really? Like, you lost the election, dude. Just, go fade away and let the guy become mayor first. Then if you want to criticize what he does, then that's fine.
Yeah. So kicking the crap out of me because I wasn't at a city council meeting, that cannabis was discussed. And let me tell you, I will be involved in the cannabis discussion. I got the briefing from the city. I had a personal emergency that night. Not that Sid needs to know that.
Right. Not that it's his business.
Not that it matters.
Right.
But, before you post something like that, understand. Kindness does matter. Begin by trying to understand everybody else's perspective.
Right.
Trust me, and I think you know this, I will not be shy on the cannabis subject. Right? We need to have some fact-based discussion there, not emotional debate. And
they're trying to sneak it through before you get in, right?
I didn't realize that's what they were trying to do. Yeah. So I don't, based on what I saw in the paper and based on what I saw on TV, I don't think that happened, but I'd have to double check.
They're trying, though.
Okay. Well, they're trying a lot of things.
You realize they still got 3 weeks to go, 4 weeks to go.
3.
Yeah. And so that there's going to be shenanigans in that last 3 weeks.
So let me just say this. I want to say this publicly, too. The mayor and his chief of staff have been very, very accommodating.
Oh, they're the best.
Now, that was disingenuous.
Yes, it was.
I'm saying that they have been, it's an awkward situation. I've never been through it before and I'm new to politics, like but I would tell you that every request I've made of them, they have been forthright in getting it back to me. I got this book from them. I've asked them 100 questions. We're going through the building with them tomorrow. We've got another sit down, like I said, next Friday with them. They've been very accommodating for everything I've asked. And, every department head, by the way, and people I'll share this questionnaire online too, a blank one. I won't share an answered one.
Give us everybody's answers?
No, I'll share.
You don't want department heads cheating off each other's papers either.
Right? C++.
Right, yeah.
I will share, based on Kim's request, this transition committee document with the names, because it's got all scratch outs, because some people said no.
Right.
And I'm okay with that.
Let me ask you this. I don't want to embarrass anybody. You have to mention names.
Yeah.
Were the people who said no, were some of them saying no because they don't like you?
No.
That they campaigned for someone else?
No.
Or it was just, I don't have time, I have kids, I have commitments?
Tough time of year, tough things going on in their life. In every situation, I've only had 3 people say no, and in every case I understood.
Okay.
Right? Yep. And I say that. And so, I say that.
How about Jen Kinnear? How about putting Jen Kinnear on one of these committees and saying, hey, listen, we ran a tough campaign, but you still have value in the community. Why not? I mean, if you're putting Bill Bryant on the committee, you might as well put Jen Kinnear on the kind of committee if she's willing to do it.
I'll think about it.
Yeah.
I'll think about it.
All right.
I'll give you that.
Boy, am I going to get my ass kicked after this show?
Yeah. No, I just don't want to lie to you. I got to talk about it with some of the people I want. So just so you understand, I'm not staying in. I'm kicking off each of these committee meetings, and then I leave.
Right. You let them do their work.
Because I want them to be able to be freely talking about this thing really works, and these things really suck. Because when you come down to it, each of the areas, I hate to say it, but the meat is in what's not working right now.
Right.
And so for somebody like me who's so process-oriented, that's where we're going to get the idea. Okay, if this doesn't work, see, these people are going to be told, okay, so it doesn't work. How do we fix it? It's not how does Neil fix it. How do we make it work? What are the kind of things we can do?
Right.
And those are the things we commit to as a city, right? Are we doing okay for time?
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes.
Okay. I started to say something and I completely forgot.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
That's probably my fault.
We went back. So, I had a personal emergency the night of the cannabis meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I did record it and watch the whole meeting after it. I did get briefed by Mr. Buckley on it. I also, last night, I'm a little disheveled today because it may seem like my mother got rushed to the hospital last night.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So
she's okay?
She's okay. She may have pneumonia. She had a temp of 102.8.
And she's in her 90s, right?
She's 86.
86,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And so we stayed kind of late there last night. It was a little, disorienting.
Sure.
So I'm not asking for pity from the people. All I'm saying is every one of us has life situations going on that, sometimes things don't work
not
out
everything's
perfectly.
political.
Right.
Right.
It isn't always done because I'm going to snub my nose and show them I'm not going to that meeting.
Right.
Sometimes life intervenes, I like to say. And so, I'm going to say, from the bottom of my heart, I loved the campaign. You are right. I am super excited.
Yeah, you seem way more excited now than.
Yeah. I don't know how that is, but I am. I'm super excited. But at the same time, I say this to you. My friends at work have told me they're going to run a retirement party for me. I'm pretty honored by that. The inauguration is January 6th. The retirement party is January 16th.
Dancing girls?
No, not one of those.
I don't want to go to that then.
I'm in politics now. I can't do that. Yeah. I'll still get you an invite.
All right.
It's good food. I've been blessed. There were certain people, you may have named them, I have not, who said, why would a Raytheon executive give up a salary like that to take a job like this that pays $80,000? And the short and straight answer is public service. I love my city. And I'm focused. I'm super excited because I'm focused. We're going to turn this thing around. And I am not, I'm going to keep my promises. I'm not going to run for state rep, and I'm not going to run for
state senator.
You
want to protect Diana. Make sure he says it on the record.
Yeah, Diana knows already. She knows, and I think she trusts me. This is all up for me about turning my city around. And so this first year is extremely important.
I've got to tell you, if you don't turn it around, in this first year.
Yeah.
Diana has been very emphatic, State Senator Diana Duggan has been very emphatic publicly that she is going to ask for a much higher level of oversight from the state, including possibly Matthias takeover.
Yep.
So you are really Methuen's last chance to not become Lawrence.
Yeah, and so I accept that challenge, not just for me, but for the city government. And I would tell you, I've already met, we've spent one of the people I didn't talk about is somebody I did talk about having her on the show is the CAFO, Maggie Dupre.
She's adorable. I'd love to have her here.
Well, I didn't use those words. That's not why I'd have her here.
That's why I would have her here.
She's got her act together. And, we've had several discussions and, really focused. And I like, she invited me in. Even though I'm not officially, there yet, I participated in the interview for the HR, Human Resource Director, which they haven't had in the city. Mm-hmm. They don't even have job descriptions, and so we interviewed a couple of candidates, and they were very good, and we believe we've selected one that's going to be really good, and I'm hopeful that that person's going to accept the job.
Did you agree with last week? 2 weeks ago, the city council voted to make the assistant city solicitor a city council employee, not a mayoral employee. Did you agree with that?
Well, let me not be a politician.
That came from a reader.
Yeah, and it's a great question, so it's fair. So I'm going to answer that of two ways, and not trying to be political. I want to publicly say that to me, the city solicitor working for the city council is really confusing to me. I know Lawrence does the same thing.
Yeah.
But I sit there and think, who does the mayor go to for legal advice when he or she needs it, right? And so that relationship, I have a good relationship with the city solicitor. I don't want you to read anything into that. I know him. But he's
my number one priority, by the way, in the next 2 years is to protect your city solicitor.
Yeah. So he works for the city council.
Right.
Right. The assistant city solicitor works for him. So I can't understand if the city solicitor is going to work for the city council, which he does.
Right.
How could his employee not work for the city council, right? That's my personal opinion, not legal. Having said that, when they vote that, it makes me want to turn to them and say, other than hiring outside counsel, what is the legal capability provided to the mayor? Right? Because right now, Methuen uses a lot of external legal counsel. And that's something we've got to take a look at. By the way, I myself have talked to them. They seem to be really terrific at what they do. Mm-hmm. But there's got to be a better solution overall than the way we're situated right now.
Sure.
And so as far as, the assistant city solicitor working for the city solicitor, working for the city council, I guess in some sense it makes sense to me. Where it's confusing to me is right now she's also the HR person. So it makes it more important that we bring in that HR director who reports to the mayor, right, rather than have the assistant city solicitor do part-time in HR. You can't do well with part-time HR directors. Right. And that's not a slam on her, the assistant solicitor. It's not a part-time job.
Yeah, the function of the job demands that you have someone full-time.
Yeah, you need at least...
Can we just not get a left-wing nutcase as an HR director?
A left-wing nutcase?
Yeah, because I see in a lot of corporations that I work with, that I've worked for, they have an HR director that's just a left-wing lunatic. And so a guy comes in and says, hey, I really like your dress. The next thing you know, he's up on sexual harassment charges at work because he said he liked someone's dress. I'm just looking to make sure that we don't get that kind of crap.
I mean, Neil, when you're doing the job description, do not put left-wing nutcase.
Thank you, Ed. I'm going to write that down. Do you mind if I? Yeah.
No, you can use it.
Yeah. Well, I think, it's important, Tom, that, that there's certain things you always have to be careful. I'm not going to, when it comes to sexual harassment or things like that, you've got to be careful because it's not what you say, it's what's taken.
Yeah.
Right? And so what's acceptable.
Which is so anti-constitutional, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, you just have to be careful about it, right? So I think, I would suggest that I think we need a whole new emphasis on that in the city. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get there.
This is why you could never hire me because I would sexually harass every single woman in my office.
I was going to say, you wouldn't have done well.
I actually require a waiver in my contract that I sexual harassment waiver.
Ed already eliminated from the competition is Tom
he
Duggan.
won't be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm pumped. I truly am pumped. And I'm looking forward to coming here and giving you more meat on the bone. So when I come back, let's start, when I come back, I'm going to report out on the progress of the transition committees.
Mm-hmm.
I committed to Kim and to everybody else to clean up all my penmanship on this and put in this. It was a typed list, and then people said yes and no, and I had to get emails, phone numbers.
Crossing things off, and circling people.
So I'm going to put the cleaned up list out there. But again, if you're interested in any way in serving on any one of those 4 teams, general government, parks, recreation, and green space, community, culture, and neighborhoods, or business and economic development, reach out to me, npirish1213@gmail.com, and tell me why. I go back. I love what you said. So don't think if we've got people on these committees who are just being blockers, then I will step in and say, look, this is all about what we want to do in the city. If you're just here to weigh things down at the block, step aside and let somebody else do it, right? And say the same thing, candidly across all 4 teams. I don't think that'll happen. I really don't. Everybody that I talked to, whether they supported me or not, sounded really excited to have the chance to participate, and I'm looking forward to that.
Well, great. Melvin Taylor's already playing the music. I want to thank our sponsors. Boy, I'll tell you, if you told me 2 years ago that we'd be here, I wouldn't have believed you. McLennan Real Estate, Century 21. We love them. We love Matt. And by the way, they gave us a ton of money for our bash a couple of years ago for scholarships. Well, hopefully we'll be able to get them to come back this year. AFC Urgent Care, Lisa Williams and her husband, they're fantastic people. They do a lot in the community. Go to AFC Urgent Care instead of going waiting 4 hours at Holy Fatal Hospital. Marsan and Son Construction, I think I left them out on the first one. Rodney Marsan, a good guy. I hope you're actually utilizing him. He's a very smart guy. Yep. Jason Marcoux at Marcoux Towing, who not only is a great tow guy in the community, but he also does an awful lot to help TMF. And the Methuen Police Superior Officers Union sponsoring the show, and we thank Greg Gallant and all of his members for always supporting the Paying Attention podcast, the Valley Patriot newspaper, our bash every year, TMF. Everything that we involve ourselves with, they get themselves involved in too. And most of the time they say, please don't thank us. We're not doing this for thanks. We're just doing it because we want to do it. So we appreciate that. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Are you going to come in now the day after? Your next scheduled show is the day after New Year's, or do you want to wait a week on that?
Can we wait a week?
Yeah, we can wait a week. That'd be much better, because then you'll be sworn in, and then then I can be mean to you.
Yeah,
it's hard to be mean to you if you haven't been sworn in yet. Right? Neil Perry, thank you very much. Duly elected mayor of Methuen. I want to thank all of our sponsors. Dave Garofalo at Two Guys Smoke Shop. We are signing out here at Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, and also want a big thank you to Ed Sullivan, our fine producer who makes this show work every single week. We will see you next week. I can't remember who's booked on the show. I think it might be Eunice Ziegler. But we'll let you know. I'll let you know on Facebook. Thank you very much, Mayor. Melvin Taylor says we got to go home, so go home already.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.